Hi everyone, welcome to another bonus content video. Today we're going to look at how to look up corporate ESG scores. So obviously ESG, environmental, social governance ratings, there are two big companies, MSCI and Sustainalytics, where we can get their data. So this is the MSCI ESG ratings corporate search tool. So they've got about 2,800 companies in their database. So if you've got smaller companies that you're looking up, they might not be in here, but it is pretty good coverage. From there, we can look up basically any company here. So I'm just going to use Apple as my case study. Apple's the biggest company in the world, so I figure they're probably a pretty good case study. Their overall rating is BBB, which is kind of middle of the pack. You can see AAA would be the highest rating, AA single A, BBB, BB single B, and then CCC would sort of be the nastiest score. If a company has a CCC, you know, obviously that's a huge red flag. I can see that Apple was downgraded in December 2020, that they used to have a score of A, but then recently it's been lowered to BBB. So these are things that are going to kind of evolve over time, and Apple sadly has fallen a little bit. From there, we can see that where they stand compared to their peers within their industry. So Apple is classified as technology, hardware, storage, and peripherals. So notice there are actually no AAA companies within this sector or within this industry. And then, you know, there are some CCCs in there. Apple is sort of middle of the pack here at BBB. From there, you know, this is a pretty cool screen because there are a lot of different metrics and indicators that go into this ESG score. They're usually over 300 different KPIs, key performance indicators. This gives us a feel for which issues are most important to Apple's sector, so in sort of tech hardware. We can see that they are considered leader in a few different things, privacy, data security. This has been a big focus for Apple lately. They are a leader in opportunities for clean tech, so they've issued a big green bond. They've done a whole bunch of solar projects. You know, they are, I would say, a little bit more aggressive when it comes to some of the clean tech stuff. And controversial sourcing. This is going to be this idea of conflict minerals, right? Obviously, if Apple was using conflict minerals, that would be a huge PR nightmare for them. So I'm happy to see that they are really cautious and they are considered a leader when it comes to sourcing of their materials. They're just average when it comes to corporate governance. So this is going to be the overall governance, executive compensation, gender diversity on the board of directors, things like this. They're also average when it comes to human capital development. So this is how well they're able to hire, train, and retain their employees. Where they're a laggard is, you know, there are some issues here on the corporate behavior side. I know Apple has a bit of a history of tax avoidance. They had this complex thing where a bunch of their profits were put through Ireland. Ireland has a very low corporate tax rate. So because they were sort of, you know, finding these sort of clever ways to avoid taxes, that probably gets them a bad score here. They're also a laggard when it comes to supply chain labor standards. This is going to be the supply chain. So companies that Apple relies on to manufacture and assemble all of their hardware. There was a major controversy a few years ago with a supplier of theirs called Foxconn, which is a Chinese assembly plant. And it just came to light they were treating their employees very, very poorly. So I'm actually really disappointed to see that they are still a laggard in this area. They got hit hard by that controversy, and I would have expected them to sort of clean up their act, but they haven't. They're also a laggard when it comes to electronic waste. I mean, how many of us have old phones or laptops or cables that, you know, are just in a drawer, can't be properly recycled, shouldn't be tossed in the garbage. So, you know, definitely an issue here when it comes to electronic waste. So this just gives you a little feel for Apple when it comes to MSCI. I want to point out that a lot of these scores, you know, really when it comes to MSCI, we can really only compare it to other countries within, or sorry, other companies within their industry. So it's going to be really hard to compare Apple to, you know, an oil and gas or pipeline company or something like that. I really wouldn't do that. Instead, really, I would just compare them to other technology companies. The second company that does these ESG ratings is Sustainalytics. So Sustainalytics is a little bit different. The way they do it is they look at it through the lens of a risk rating. So again, I'll use Apple here. Now, you want a lower score is better, so negligible risk, and then Apple is kind of in this low risk area. Again, you can see them compared to other technology hardware companies. You know, not bad. They're sort of in the top third here. But when it comes to the global universe, you know, this is trying to compare companies across all sectors that Apple is actually pretty high up there. It's only, 1,800 out of 14,000. So, this is where they do try to compare companies across different sectors. But to me, I'll be honest that when it comes to these ESG scores, I really feel comfortable comparing them within the same sector. We can see here some other companies. So if you wanted to see which companies sort of have a better score, I can see HP is a little bit lower, Nokia, Dell, It's sad it doesn't tell me who number one is. We'd have to do some digging around to figure out who gets that top score. When it comes to this ESG risk score, really what they're doing is looking at a bunch of these different issues. To get the top issues they're looking at, it's kind of annoying. I need to give them all of my information. And I'm probably going to have to do a little CAPTCHA here. Yeah, this is so annoying. Let's see if it sees that I'm a human. There we go. So I can see when it comes to the top ESG issues, they use this word material, which is basically like relevant. So these are the most relevant ESG issues. Corporate governance, business ethics, human capital, data privacy, and security are the things that Sustainalytics has deemed sort of the most important. As well, we do get this controversy rating. So if there is a controversy, or really when there's a controversy, it's really rare that a company has 0 controversies. We can see it on a scale of 1 to 5. The highest controversy score here would be level 3. So, not great, but not terrible. And we can see here, yeah, accounting and taxation, that would have been that little sort of Ireland trick they were using. Anti-competitive practices, so no surprise there. Data privacy and security, intellectual property, and labor relations are sort of the controversies that Sustainalytics has flagged. So anywho, these are kind of nifty tools you can use. You can really look up any company if you want. I'll give you a quick look at something like Suncor, just so you can see how it treats, something like the energy sector. So Suncor is often considered sort of the most sustainable out of the tar sands companies. So, here with Sustainalytics, they still have a pretty high score, but you can see, out of the oil and gas companies, they're on the more sustainable side. Overall, you can see, a little bit on the kind of dirtier side of the universe, just barely sort of worse than half when it comes to all companies globally. Compared to other energy companies here, that really the issues for Suncor, corporate governance, carbon products and services, right? Obviously a huge issue. They sell oil. That's a big thing that they sell. Emissions, effluents, and waste, and carbon from their own operations. Those are going to be the big flags there. And it's just kind of interesting when we go back to MSCI, you'll see that when we look up Suncor, they actually have a decent score when it comes to the MSCI. They've got a single A. So this isn't saying that Suncor is more sustainable than Apple. No, no, no. Really, this is only compared to other integrated oil and gas companies, that Suncor would be on the more sustainable side. You can see here, they're a leader when it comes to corporate governance and corporate behavior. They're just average for biodiversity and land use and health and safety, but they are considered laggards when it comes to carbon emissions, community relations, obviously a big issue with a lot of indigenous people, and toxic emissions and waste. These would be the tailings ponds that they have. So, you can still get an A score, right? Still get a decent ESG score. This is why we want to do negative screening alongside ESG integration, just because if someone doesn't want fossil fuels at all, obviously you're not going to want Suncor. Whereas if you're okay with some fossil fuels, you just want to get rid of the worst of the worst, then you might find that Suncor is still inside the portfolio. Hopefully this was helpful content for you. If you have any questions, put them in the community forum. Happy to answer all of your questions about ESG ratings. Have a great day.